Hey everyone, my name is Sam, and today we're taking a look at the Sky Temple map in Heroes of the Storm, alright? Heroes just recently launched, and a lot of people are struggling to adapt to the very difference this game has with a lot of other MOBAs out there. Specifically, that there is a lot of different maps, and they all have very specific mechanics, and all very unique mechanics as well. So today we're going to talk about why the Sky Temple is interesting, and why it's very unique. Immediately you'll see it's gorgeous, first of all, but second of all, you'll notice how tall the map is. Top to bottom, it's a very, very long run. This is good for mounts, but this is definitely for a very important reason, all right? So the map does have 3 lanes. It's your conventional map, but you won't want to approach it conventionally. It's similar to Blackheart's Bay in that respect, but these lanes are actually much more traditional. They're all pretty similar length, and they all have a very important lane presence to have. You know, you want to push the towers and towns as much as possible, but you definitely want to understand this one specific thing, okay? There are 3 temples on this map, all right? The temples are the objective. Standing in them forces them to shoot out damage at the other team. It's similar to Blackheart's Bay in that respect as well, only you have to actually remain in them. Now, the temples have a very interesting mechanic in that they spawn ads in there as well. So you not only have to stand in them, but you have to kill some ads that come out as well. Once you kill the ads, more respawn. So it's not a bad idea to kind of take your time killing them. The longer you're in there, the better. It doesn't actually matter if you kill the mobs. Like, if there was a way that you can just CC the mobs, it'd be better than actually killing them. It's just a waste of time, but it's kind of the only option because they do a decent amount of damage. Like, you'll have to kill them. You can't just let them beat on you because they would kill you. But at the end of the temple, all right? So the last few seconds of the temple, whoever's got control of it for the last few seconds actually gets a much bigger bonus. They get like 3 big hits on any structure that's being attacked. So once again, this attacks random structures just like on the black ship one, and it's pretty interesting because it's a bit different. Now the first temples always spawn up top, okay? This is always how it goes, 100% of the time. The first temples are always, there's always 2, and it's a varying amount sometimes, later in the game especially. All right, so the first 2 temples are always these top 2. So because of that, you want to have 2 people top and 2 people mid, similar to Blackheart's Bay, right? The lanes are much more important in this though because whoever wins these lane presence can get a good start on that thing. And if you're in there quick, it's not always a good thing. Sometimes you want to be there late so you can snatch up the end of it. And this is why the map is so fun and so balanced because it's not always a good idea to get in there. You might get in there early, take a lot of damage from the minions, and then they'll respawn and come kill you. And then they'll get the last few hits of it. It's actually interesting. And I don't really know much to say about the meta behind that, but you want to keep that in mind. Sometimes it's best to kind of just wait it out and force a fight, win the fight, and then get the shrines. Especially if both components of the teams are equal health and of equal strength. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend not sending the bottom person up when these 2 spawn. You can if you really need to, like if your team's complaining about it and both players go. But oftentimes these first 2 temples aren't that important. A lot of people go and die over it, and it's just such a waste of experience. Like when you're in the temples, you're not really getting experience. You'll get some from killing the mobs, but the lanes are just wasted. So if you can send 2 to the middle one here and 2 to the top one here, and they could both not die, they don't have to actually win it. If you trade 50-50, it's fine. But as long as they don't die and the other team gets 100% of it, then you've probably done a good job by staying bottom because you'll be getting experience. And very likely in quick queue, and if you're new to the game, this is going to happen all the time when this map comes up. Players are just, they're either going to derp out, they're not going to pay attention to the mechanic, or they're all just going to flood one. And getting experience is extremely important in this game. It's much more important than this, especially the first time around this objective. And then from there, you can kind of just disseminate and go back to your lanes. But I wouldn't be opposed to keeping people out of them and then just going in, maybe even with the Zerg, like 4 people mid. That's pretty common as well. A lot of people send like 4 to the mid. They just wash over the team, get it as quickly as possible, and then go top. So they kind of like stagger it. Instead of doing both at the same time, it might actually be a benefit for your team. Like your team has higher synergy together. You don't have 2 good brawlers, or you don't have like 2 guys who work well together. Have like 4, maybe all 5 of your guys go mid. Wash the team out. Definitely get that one. This may result in a trade, an even trade, but it's still better. You always want to get 1. You just don't want to let them get 2. That's a very big deal. Now, after the first set, which is always these top 2, the second one is always the bottom one, just the bottom one. So like I said, you'll want to try to get the fight done. You want to get a good experience pool, and you can usually get to pretty close to 10 by the time this one spawns. I don't have exact timers, but this is for basic players anyway, so it shouldn't make that big of a difference. All you need to know is after the first 2 are completely Like, they're used up. It's time to get experience. And you want to try to get as close to 10 as possible. If you can get to 10 while this one's happening, you will win this fight. Because if the other team isn't 10, you can use your ults. And ults are just, heroic abilities are so important in this game. Yeah, it could easily win the fight. And it's very, very likely that this is going to happen. Whoever wins the experience battle early. So even more important to kind of save. You don't want to just abandon this bottom lane when the first 2 shrines spawn. Because you're just losing out experience. It doesn't, unless the shrines actually destroy forts, then it's not really a net gain. So I would definitely recommend, playing that by ear if you think it's the right ability. This is a good map for Lost Vikings as well. I'd say this is the one map where Lost Vikings dominate on. They would probably do a decent job on Dragonshire as well because they can keep soaking when everybody's doing the objectives. But these objectives really pull people from the lanes. So if you couldn't get experience when your other team isn't, it's very important. Now, after those 2, I'm pretty sure it's random. I haven't noticed a pattern, but there might be some type of like permutation type pattern. So from there on, it's always middle top, middle bottom, and then 3. Like, there can be all 3. It happens much more. I think there's like a negate, like where it always happens at the end. But once it happens at the end, it's very likely that that's a win condition. Sometimes all you need is 1. In fact, if the core is already partially damaged, I'm not sure if 1 can do it by itself, like in the pirate ship map. There we go. Anyway, I'm not sure 1 can do it by itself, but it's very common that you'll push with the some minions and get some damage on the core, and then all you need is the 1. And once that happens, if you have that win condition, it's 100% because they're not going to be able to split up, and like you'd have to really misplay to not be able to get 1 when there's 3 up. So that's a very important part of it. You want to keep pressure. And this is a pretty short map because, like, game-wise, lengthwise, because you can easily just pressure the core the whole game and win very, very quickly as soon as those 3 location happens. But otherwise, there's a lot of mercenaries on this map, actually. This is a really interesting mercenary map, especially down bottom. These 2 siege camps are pretty good. Once again, they're always good for sieging, but this boss is actually pretty interesting. It's a pretty weak boss, and a lot of people get baited into trying to kill it. I wouldn't say it's ever really a good idea to kill it unless you've just recently, you've won a majority of the team fight. Like, you've killed 3 guys and all 5 of you guys are still alive. You can go there, but this is a really, really good place to force a team fight because people just go nuts. They see the boss and they're like, oh my god, but the boss isn't nearly as impactful as the other bosses. He's even got different mechanics that I feel just don't do nearly as much as the other bosses, from other maps. So you could definitely, like, look how much brush there is around here. You could force a fight very easily. You stand in, even if you can't zone, if you're red and you can't zone to the blue side, you can just stay on your side. And once they start, you engage. Because the boss has this, like, he knocks people up and he moves people around and stuff. So it's pretty difficult for them to execute their plan when they're fighting this boss. And I don't know how many, especially as ETC, I just slide in there, ult them, the boss does his job. You could pretty much win by yourself because of that. But that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward map, but it's difficult to compromise because you pretty much are never going to get 100%. Like, it's not possible to get all the shrines. The other team would have to be AFK, honestly. And like I said, when you're in there, the balance is that you have to fight mobs. So they actually have an advantage attacking you while you're in it, despite the fact that you have an advantage by being in it because it's doing damage. So you're going to have to get used to that. There's not much I can say about that, but just understand that the first spawns are always on the top, so you don't ever want to send 1 mid. That's a distinct advantage because a team who recognizes this is only ever going to have 1 bottom, and the 2 people bottom may be able to bully them, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's just not a good idea. Having 1 mid means you can't contest that middle shrine unless you've easily won the bottom. So that's counter meta, obviously, but if you have any questions about this map, let me know. I really like this map. I think it's my favorite map in the game, mostly because of the visuals, but I think the objective is actually really fun as well.